Hello, my dear friends. Got a really fun topic today. And it's really not a fun topic. It's actually probably one of the most just s- low topics we could talk about, but we're going to make it fun, I guess, is what I really mean, which is apathy and despair. Feeling and being in states of apathy, despair, hopelessness, depression, repression. Um, And a lot of these energies, they kind of feel like a passive death. It's like you're kind of already dead, but you're still alive. But you kind of want to die, you know? It's like these states can definitely make you want to die. And I know that's dark, but I mean, we got to be real here. And I just went through a bout of this. Like I just purged out some of this really deep despair that I didn't even know was there. No rhyme intended. And it was so painful, it was so harsh. And I'll share more about that as we get into it. I'll share my story and my experience with these feelings, but I got through it and I was determined to get through it, obviously. And I'm pretty familiar with it because throughout my life, I think this has been one of the most persistent shadows that I've um, experienced and dealt with and moved through. So I think I can share a lot of light on it. And I think this is really, really helpful for everyone. I really, really do. I think that these feelings are very common. I mean, it's going to be really helpful for you right now if you're in these states, of apathy or despair, and they're really kind of the same thing. Apathy is just sort of more covering despair. Um, so it's going to be really helpful for you, but it's going to be helpful for anyone. If you ever find yourself in this state, for me, I haven't been living in this state, but it came like up, as things do to be released and purged. And that's what really caused these insights. And I think it's maybe everyone, or at least most people, deal with these feelings, throughout their day. Healing and um I want to say evolution, ascension. It's not linear, It's like we go through, in the wholeness of our being, within ourselves, within our lineage, within the collective, we go through lots of different states of being. It's not necessarily just linear. So this is really, really amazing. And it'll also give more insight just if you ever a loved one is going through this kind of stuff, it'll also give you more insight into that. So yeah, let's get into it. I have a little outline here, but I'm just gonna flow as I do. But there's gonna be a lot of practical information here. So what is apathy? What is despair? What do I mean? I think we know on the surface level, apathy is kind of this feeling in this state where you just don't really care. You're just kind of numb. Everything is just um pointless. Everything seems meaningless. Everything seems pointless. Everything is just too much. And it's a numbness. And again, it's like a lack of caring, but underneath it is totally the opposite. It's usually a range from either a fatigue from caring so much for so long, all the way to um yeah, I think that's really it. It's just different degrees of almost like a burnout feeling of like having all of these emotions and of caring so deeply about things and then having either experiences or maybe people that have made you feel like you shouldn't care about these things, or these things don't really matter, or you're gonna fail anyways, or there's no point, you're just gonna fail, it's not gonna do anything, there's no it's really you can kind of see how this is like a really painful experience. And so apathies, from my experience, it's more of a cover up, a numbness of just a way in which you protect yourself from the despair you feel. Because despair, again, despair, hopelessness, depression, these are the lowest emotions a human being can feel, as far as I'm aware. And it just shrinks you down to feel like you're absolutely nothing, meaningless. It's such a horrible feeling, when I was in these feelings, um, it's so painful that it's like it feels it feels like almost like you're imprisoned in your body, and it's so hard to get relief because it's like there's nowhere to run to when you actually fully feel and accept it and see it. There's nowhere to run to. It's like you just feel this horrible feeling in your body and you want to get out, but you have to kind of feel and um move through it, which is what I'm going to get into in a second. So yeah, it's such a, I think when it comes up, we don't want to feel it because it is that painful. You know, there's lots of painful emotions we can feel that, a lot of times we try to avoid feeling them. And this is definitely one of them, but like with anything, moving through it and choosing to see it and choosing to feel it with intention, with awareness, with courage, that's actually what's going to help you to truly free yourself from this pain once and for all. you know, when you're not facing it and you're not facing your despair that you feel and you're being apathetic and numb, you're basically dead. You're basically dead. You're basically a living dead. Such a, it's kind of tragic. It is. And I'm making light of it now. But yesterday, when I was feeling it, it just felt so impossible, which is what inspired me to want to share this. Because thankfully I had the tools to be able to move through it. So I think what causes it, just to be brief, just to give more information on it, I'm sure there's a lot of things that can cause it, but I think probably the most common thing is just not feeling like you can do what you want to do or be who you want to be on some level. Feeling very repressed in maybe in childhood, you were very discouraged or invalidated when you would try to be yourself or try to pursue something you were passionate about, trying to pursue something that was meaningful to you. Maybe you were met with either neglect or invalidation or not caring or discouragement, or maybe you were met with active, like, no, don't do that. You can't do that. That's stupid. Doesn't that's not going to be good. Like, these things that as adults we can look back and see how, that's just sort of really abusive behavior, to receive that. But as children, it feels very real. And not just as children, but just anytime you're met with that and you don't have the capacity to really see it, from that light, it's going to be very, very discouraging. And if you really internalize it, then those outer voices that have discouraged you to whatever degree can turn into your own voice. And so you have this part of you that's like, I want to do this. But then you have this other part that automatically swoops in, like, you can't do that. No, that's not good. That's not safe. That's stupid. And then so you just kind of get into this internal conflict with yourself where you get kind of stuck. And another thing that ties into this that's really, really big is anger. This is so big. And I feel this so much. This is so strong and has been so strong in my lineage and a lot of people's, surely, is that a lot of us feel like we're not allowed to be angry. We're told anger is bad. Being angry has social consequences. When you're angry, you're going to hurt people and you're going to be a bad person. So it's not safe. You're not allowed to be angry. Don't be angry. Um, And so the thing about anger is actually above hopelessness. Hopelessness is is like the rock bottom. Despair, hopelessness is like rock bottom emotion. And trust me, if you know that when you're in that state of despair, hopelessness, you feel, just so tiny and small and insignificant. Um, what's so horrifying in a way about that is you can linger there for a long time, perhaps even a lifetime. You can linger in this, and you can kind of just, it's almost like a bottomless rock bottom where you can just keep shrinking into absolutely nothing and feel so meaningless. And again, you're basically dead. You're basically the living dead. And you kind of want to die when you're in that because everything seems so meaningless. Um, and and I'm going to get into this in a minute, the importance of feeling it, of facing it and feeling your emotions, but also not getting stuck in them. Don't linger. You don't want to linger too long, especially in despair. You got to feel it and move through it, but you don't want to linger in despair. You really, really got to pull yourself up out of despair at all costs if you wish to live, if you wish to truly live and be alive. You cannot keep shrinking back into hopelessness and despair. I mean, you got to do whatever ever you can. Um, and again, I'm going to share, what works for me, but and I really feel it'll work for you as well. But I'm just saying, just to be real, you got to do whatever you can to pull yourself out of despair and hopelessness. And one of the ways you can do that is anger. Um, like I said, a lot of people who fall into despair don't feel like they're allowed to be angry because being angry is bad. It makes you a bad person. You're going to hurt people. And that's so not true. So not true. Anger is a sacred emotion. It's very, very necessary. And it's going to be your best friend for pulling yourself out of despair. And being in anger, it doesn't mean you need to lash out on people. It doesn't mean you need to act out on your anger. It doesn't mean that at all. And in fact, I don't recommend it. That it just means feel angry. Allow yourself to feel and get angry and recognize that that anger is just a form of self-preservation, really. And it's a form of protection. And it's alerting you that you need to have some kind of boundary, whether it's boundaries with other people, um, and all of this stuff should probably come to you pretty intuitively as you go about it. But I'll get more into that in a second because the first thing I want to say is as far as starting to cure and get out of apathy, get out of despair, get out of hopelessness, get out of depression. So the first thing is always awareness, 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 which you already are on your way because you're watching this video. Is to be aware of it. Um, and in this day and age, it's hard not to be aware of aware of it because I think we're all getting more sensitive, and so it'll start kind of bubbling up. And it doesn't. This is not who you are. It does not define you. Um, no matter how deep you feel like you're in it, no matter how long you've been in it, it doesn't matter. You can get out of it. I promise you. It's always just that beginning, that getting that beginning momentum. That's the hardest, but you have to trust yourself, which might be hard because a lot of times with despair, there's a lack of trust with yourself. There's maybe even you fear yourself. You don't trust yourself because you've been in this conflict where you don't let yourself be who you are. So, there's a broken trust within yourself there too. And again, all this stuff, everything I've just said is going to shed new awareness onto it, which is already going to be helpful. Um, and so when it comes up, having the awareness, seeing it, um, recognizing it, realizing that it's not you, it's just a state of being, it's a feeling, and most importantly, maybe the thoughts around it. So when you're in a state of apathy or despair, your thoughts are going to match that, and those thoughts are going to probably be vicious. They're going to be vicious. So recognize that, and try to see that from that higher awareness, the observer. Those thoughts are not you. They are not the truth. They don't represent the truth. They're just thoughts. And again, those thoughts can be very dangerous, even, and when you're in a state like that, because they're going to be reflecting that hopelessness. So, I don't want to be here. This is meaningless. This is stupid. I hate this. I hate life. I don't, I want to, I just want to die. Like, I'm just being real. These are the kind of thoughts that might come up when in those states. Like, there's nothing I can do. Like, everything is pointless. It's just such a black, hopeless, gray state of being. And so much love to you, everyone who's listening to this, especially if you're going through that. Please have faith in yourself because it will shift, I promise you. It doesn't feel like it's going to shift when you're in it. It feels like it's forever. It feels like it's damned, especially if you've been in it for a long time or if you've dealt with it a lot in your life. But don't listen to it. It's not true. It's just a state, it's temporary. You will find your way out. It's really not as hard as it seems. It's just breaking through that initial barrier. So, yeah. So, seeing it, recognizing how it feels, recognizing what you're going through, recognizing the thoughts, not identifying with those thoughts. Please don't do that to yourself. Um, just seeing them. If you need to write them down, write them down. That's always helpful when you're in a dark place and you're spiraling or you're trying not to spiral. It's nice when you can catch yourself. You don't have to spiral. But if you do, it's okay. Write down the thoughts. Write them down. Notice them because then your mind will see what's going on even more. It's like without censoring them, write down your thoughts and you'll see what I mean. They're usually repetitive, looping, circular, negative thoughts that are not true, but will be very, very, probably very dark. So that way you can recognize them, gain more awareness over what's happening. And then, of course, feeling it. And this is where you kind of have to continue as a journey to develop discernment of feeling your feelings, not repressing them. There is no repressing them. I mean, you can, because anything you shove down is just going to show up in another way, right? When it's time for us to feel what we need to feel, it comes up. It's like the rain. The rain comes and then the rain will go. In this case, when the best thing to do when it rains is to let it rain, and trust and remember and know that it's going to pass. So I'll give you my example from yesterday when this arose. I really just had to feel it. And there was this part of me, I don't normally like these days, I don't resist my feelings that much, but this one, the despair, the intensity of the despair was so intense that I really did. There was a part of me that was trying to be like, no, I don't want to feel this. I don't want to feel this. It's too painful. Sick of feeling it. It's like, why do I keep feeling it? These kinds of things. But eventually the dam just broke open and I felt it and I cried a lot and I felt the deep, deep, deep pain for me in my chest. And then, it's like makes you just want to squirm in your body because it's so painful and there's no escaping it. It's like it has to move through you. There's no alleviating it. It's like the pain has to move through you. And it feels like it's going to take forever. And for me, it took probably the whole first part of the day, really, which is kind of a long time because emotions, when you let them move through, generally will move through you very quickly compared to what we think, or especially compared to resisting them. Because when we resist our emotions, it can last a lifetime. When we allow the floodgates to go, the energy, it's intense, it can just move through. So, I cried, I felt it, I felt it, I felt it, I felt it, I just felt it. It lasted a long time for me. That's okay. You know, sometimes it takes days. For me, I've been dealing with this in doses, so everyone's different. So don't judge yourself. Please try not to judge yourself. Try not to comment on your experience. Try not to be like overly self-conscious about everything. Just let it rain. Just let the feelings come through is my advice. Just feel it. Feel it, feel it, feel it. It takes courage, my friends. Be brave. It's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it because you have to get, like, please, like, you have to get these emotions out if you want to live. You have to get these emotions out if you want to survive. And you have to get these emotions out if you want to thrive. These are very dark, deep emotions that make you dead, pretty much, living dead, or they will end up in a tragedy if you don't get out of them. if that's a severe case. So you have to feel it. And you'll know, for me, again, in my case, it's like I felt it just coming out, crying. And then it kind of reaches a point, it kind of reaches a point, and you don't think about it too much because everything's going to flow with you as long as you're open and willing to receive healing. Healing is always trying to happen. Um, you reach a point where, okay, it starts to kind of, you feel that it's been released. That's the point when it's time to start picking yourself up. Don't linger longer than you have to. Don't dwell in it. Don't linger longer than you have to in despair. Please. You have to know when it's time to pull yourself up. And if you don't know, it's usually that point in the catharsis, which is a term for emotional release at the end, when you start it's almost like you start getting kind of bored of it. It's like, okay, yeah, like, all right. If that makes sense. You'll know though. You just have to trust yourself. It's just this balance of not shying away from the pain, but then not becoming obsessed or fixated on the pain. Just find that balance. And this is a lifelong practice, you guys. So don't be too hard on yourself, but just be intuitive. Just trust yourself. Just trust when you feel like, okay, I'm ready to pick myself up now. Another answer, I don't know. I guess that's one way to say it is try not to distract yourself from it. I think that's a big thing with anything, but especially with apathy and despair, because we want to check out, because we want to dissociate, because we don't want to feel these things, because we just kind of want to be dead, honestly, because we want to be dead because like everything feels meaningless. And not only that, but again, I think it comes back to the conflict that you're having deep inside of you, where you're like, I want to do this thing or be this thing that my soul is calling me to do, but I'm not going to do it because it's pointless, because I'm going to fail anyways, because I'm scared, because people are going to make fun of me and it's going to be embarrassing and I'm just going to fail anyways. That's generally, I think, like the heart of the conflict of despair. And that's really, really painful because you're a child of God here to experience this life. And then there's this internalized voice, and it's more than a voice. It's almost like a force. It can become like a force that's actually not allowing you to do that. So you can again see that conflict is very, very painful. But again, seeing it really is the first step. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. So try not to distract yourself, scrolling, addiction, TV, alcohol. Um, that's sort of like the go-to with despair, I think, is looking for something to mask the pain, looking for something that's not really going to actually help you heal the pain. It's just going to kind of be an escape from the pain temporarily, and it doesn't really help, I don't think. So that's one, I guess, tip. Again, coming back to anger, allowing yourself to feel angry, telling yourself it's okay to feel angry. There's absolutely nothing wrong with feeling anger at all. Nothing sinful about feeling anger at all. Um, it doesn't mean you need to be mean to people or go off on people or take your anger out on anyone or yourself. You don't have to do that. You're an adult. You know how to, you can figure out how to handle your anger and let yourself rise into this um, higher vibration. Again, anger is a higher vibration than hopelessness. It really, really is. You will feel this for yourself. It's okay to get angry, especially sensitive people, empathic people, people that in your childhood, maybe you were hardcore shamed for expressing anger as a kid, or maybe your parents were so repressed in their anger and you watched that as an example. You have to be okay with anger. Your anger is sacred. If you're in hopelessness, anger is gonna be your savior. Truly, let yourself be angry and figure out how to use that anger constructively. Again, anger is usually a signal that you need to have stronger boundaries with people or with these thoughts or, I want to say even with your own ego, that it's a sign. It's the anger is the energy that's going to allow you to protect yourself. When you're in hopelessness, you can't really protect yourself. You're just sort of getting smushed by everything. You're just really getting smushed into like a little like nothingness. That's why it's so dangerous. There's really no end to how smushed down you can become. And it feels like the worst feeling ever. That anger is going to help you to have boundaries and help you to rise up, help you to protect, to, and not even just having boundaries how we think of it, but literally having boundaries like having dimension, like being able to have form without getting totally steamrolled by your environment, by other people, whether they mean to or not. You have to come and let yourself come into that. And get angry. And it's actually fun. Be playful with anything in life, anything in life, anything in enlightenment. The more you can learn to be playful as possible, the more enjoyable and easier everything can get. Is the more you can be playful about it, and not take things so seriously. Okay. And then another thing I want to say is choosing life. If you're in despair, you're in a passive state of death. I think that's such a great way to explain it. Shout out to Teal Swan. I saw that in one of her videos a while ago, but it stuck with me. So you have to fully commit to life if that's what you want. And I hope you want that, my friend, to choose life. Do you want to live? Do you want to live? You're here for a reason. You're here for a reason. And no matter how dark and hopeless it may feel, it doesn't matter. You can come out of it. People have come out of the craziest things, you know. The ego, again, that part of you is going to say there's no way. And you just have to really, really choose and commit to looking beyond that because there is a way. And you can feel completely different in 24 hours than you feel now. Just think of that. When you're in dark states, it feels like it's done. It feels like you're ruined. I've felt that before. In the dark nights of the soul, you feel like it's like there's no coming back from this. There's no recovery after this. It's never true. And it's actually those moments when you go the lowest that give you the potential to rise the highest. And I mean that at the core of my being. Surely you've experienced something like that for yourself. And when we're in those low moments, though, we tend to forget. We forget this. And it can become tempting to listen to those voices of hopelessness and despair, that there's no recovering from this. There is. There is. You'll feel totally different in 24 hours. You'll feel totally different in 6 hours. You might feel totally different just in 1 hour than you feel right now. So don't be convinced by that, you know? And all this stuff is going to just really, if you just keep going, keep moving through it, keep committing to life, committing to God, committing to who you are, as long as you don't ultimately give up on that, everything you need is going to come to you. Coming out of despair, it's almost like coming out of a zombie state too, in a weird way. You really have to pull yourself up. And again, just to sort of recap on the cure of that, what I want to say is the cure has been the cure for me is recognizing it, being aware of it, being aware of what it feels like, feeling it, letting it move through you, and then finding however you need to pull yourself up out of hopelessness again and again, as many times as you need to. It might just be a little spurt like it was for me yesterday. It might be maybe something that feels a lot bigger. Don't be discouraged. It doesn't matter. There is no difference in size of miracles. All miracles are maximum expressions of love, whether they're tiny little things or whether they're massive, unbelievable things. There's no difference, really, in the eyes of God, in the eyes of who you really are. It's possible. All you need is a little bit of openness. All you need is a little bit of faith. Faith the size of a mustard seed. That's all you need. and keep focusing on that. So that awareness, befriending anger, it's okay to feel angry, not distracting yourself, try not to distract yourself. And even when you do find yourself distracting yourself, it's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Having so much self-compassion, choosing life, um, and figuring out the things that you do want to be and the things you do want to create in this life. This life is a creative dance. Nothing in this life is gonna, nothing you do or make in this life can make you any more or less worthy than you already are. Because the truth is that you are a child of God, as we all are, and you were created with infinite value. You come in this world. You are not of this world. You are in this world, but not of this world. Nothing of this world can define you. Nothing of this world can truly harm what you really are. Nothing of this world can give you anything you don't already have, you know? And really just starting to accept and embrace that, you know, and in pursuing the things that matter to you. You know, this life is short. This life is short. And when we're all gonna die eventually. And when you do you want to have always played it safe? Or do you want to look back and see that you followed your heart, you did the things you wanted to do, you know? I think that's really what it's all about. Even if it gets messy, even if it's, not perfect or what you think it needs to be, at least you put yourself out there, you tried, you're experimenting. And the truth is, with anyone who's ever done anything great in this life, um, they've had to go through a lot, they've had to go through these kinds of things. So there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with what you're going through. In fact, you're right on schedule. And I can tell you that for a fact. That's exactly what came to me when I was in my deep despair. Again, when you're in despair, it feels like everything's wrong. Feels like you're just totally fucked up. And there's a lot of things in life that will make you feel that way, but then you'll come to this point where it'll all make sense. And you'll be glad that you went through that because it gave you insights, it gave you strength, it gave you compassion. It gave you wisdom. It gave you things that you cannot really get in any other way, you know? So it's perfect. And a lot of times, in order to create what we want, we experience contrast. And if that contrast gets you this hung up, it means that this was something that is a very beneficial lesson for you. And so it's all good. All is well. Come back into the heart. When you come back into the heart, all is well. Heal your heart. Love your heart. When you're in states of pain, again, apathy and despair, it can feel like, it's like something stabbing your heart, it's like heal your heart. Love yourself, let yourself be loved by others. Let yourself be held by others if you can. And, holding others and helping others as well. There's so many different ways to heal. And I think the best thing I can offer you is what I have offered you as just the beginning, as again the awareness and just starting to move out of that. You have to pull yourself up out. You have to. Your life depends on it. You have to pull yourself out of despair because that despair will kind of when you're anything you kind of create out of despair, it'll kind of keep showing up. Keep feeling and healing in loving and honoring yourself. And there's no way that you can actually fail. It's like that with anything I look back in my life. Like I said in the beginning, healing ascension, it's not linear. It's not just like this. Ultimately, maybe it is you keep going up, but it's like, it's like a wave. It's like you go really high and then, and then, and this stuff happens and you want to create these magnificent things in your life. And it's the walk to that actually is that's what gets you to create the things you want in your life. So feeling through your despair or whatever it is, it might feel like it's wrong or there's something wrong with you, but it's actually a really important part of your journey into being and becoming what you truly are. So you're not off course. And you are here for a reason. You are here for a purpose. So find what works for you, create art, dance, move energy, lean on to people that are safe that you can lean on if you have them, or if not, you can find them. I offer sessions. That's what I offer people, that's what I'm here for as well. Um, and as I said it in a lot of my videos, specifically peace, you know, practicing coming into your body, embodying more peace, embodying more joy through meditation. I won't get into that too much here, but that's, I think that's the ultimate thing. We when we have these realizations, we have to embody them by training the body to be in higher states, training the body to be in peace, in gratitude, in abundance, in joy. That's something it's like we train our body in a way to do. We keep raising the baseline of our body. If you've been in despair for a long time, it's possible that might be your baseline. And that's okay. Just recognize it, accept it, realize that there's like a science to this, there's laws of the universe. It feels like an anomaly because as the human race, we're just starting to kind of remember and reawaken to what we are. And so we can get into these loops, and I know them so well, my friends. And that's why I call them anomalies. It feels like an anomaly because, like, you get this distortion in your mind, often through no real fault of your own. It's just the conditioning you're born into. And then you keep kind of experiencing these loops, and it gets to the point where it feels just like absolutely maddening because it's like you keep feeling this shit and then it keeps reflecting back to you, and it's like it feels like an anomaly. It's like, well, how do I stop this madness? How do I get out of here? How do I actually change? And it's really about finding what works for you and committing. You have to freaking commit. You have to commit. You have to full on fucking commit. You can't just dabble in these little things for a few days and expect real change. I mean, maybe ultimately, but and I'm speaking really absolute right now, which I don't normally do, but I'm just really trying to encourage you with what I've learned and has really worked for me is like you have to fully commit to life and you have to fully commit to pulling yourself out of hell. You have to fully commit to it's better to have a real practice, one practice and fully commit to it than to have a million different scattered ideas that you dabble in and you never really go far in, you know? So I would recommend presence, being present, being with God, asking God to help. Ask God to help you. Ask Jesus to help you. Ask the Holy Spirit to help you. Those are my go-tos. The Trinity, that's my go-to. And it's never, ever, ever let me down. Sometimes you have to ask, though. You have to ask so that way the healing that's already trying to happen has your full permission to really come in and lift you up. We're not alone here. You don't have to do it all by yourself. We're all so connected. That's why you're listening. This is why I'm sharing this right now. That's why you're listening right now. It's divine. So yeah, it's amazing. And just really be present, really focus on raising your body's vibration because your consciousness's vibration's already there, but you retrain your body to have a higher and higher baseline. If you're in despair, okay, maybe come into anger, okay, maybe come into neutrality, okay, maybe come into safety, you know, don't try to jump from hopelessness to joy unless you really feel like that's naturally happening. But generally, you kind of, even if it's quick, you have to kind of ride up the scale. And it can happen quickly into anger, into neutrality and safety. And then you can and then you can go into gratitude. And then you go into appreciation and joy and inspiration. And then you can keep going up. And again, it's not always linear like that. You can, and that's okay. It's like we're all of it. So, hopefully this is helpful. I know I try to throw in as many like tips as I can throughout this flow that have helped me. And at the end of it, I just want to give you all so much love, so much love, so much love, so much love. You are so loved. You are love. That's what you really are. At the end of the day, we are God in form, God consciousness, children of God in form, having this experience as a human being, having this experience as being separate from the perfection we are And as horrible as it may feel, it's something that, from that perspective, you can kind of see how it's an interesting experience for eternal beings, for infinite love beings, children of God, eternal infinite beings, for us to experience separation and lack and hopelessness and things like this. It's a very strange game that we get to play. And that's really what it is. And once you realize that and you do have a choice, all you have to do is get the momentum started. If you're in a lot of negative momentum, presence, Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle the fuck out of your life. Seriously. So simple. That's all it is. Or whatever, follow your intuition. Maybe it's something else for you. Presence, movement, dance, purging, releasing, you know. And so you come back into a place of neutrality, come back to your center if you have a lot of negative momentum, and you'll naturally start to feel more expansion, more love, more joy. So I think that's everything. I think I said everything I could possibly say about this topic. I want to keep this somewhat brief. I don't know how long it's been, but yeah, so much love to you. I am proud of you. I feel you. I'm with you. We're all really with each other. You've got this 100%. You've got this 100%. Yes, you do. Just know it. And I hope this is helpful for you. Just keep going. Um, and if you do feel like you want additional help or guidance or a mirror to reflect back to you and hold space for you and receive you, to receive you. Perhaps you don't feel like you're have the ability to be received. I will receive you. I offer the sessions. You can check that out in the description. Reiki healing sessions, talking sessions, and it's my joy to be able to remind you of the perfection you are. So that's there. You got this. So much love to you all. Again, I hope this is helpful. Have an absolutely amazing day, and I'll see you next time.